Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Manifest Podcast, your podcast on authentic masculinity. You know, what we try to do here, by the grace of God, is to restore the profile of authentic masculinity. Now, last week, we introduced a topic that is very, very critical, in the area of marriage. Those of us that are married, whether you're male or female, listening right now, I do know that even though we are a podcast that focuses exclusively, to men, we cater, because it's authentic masculinity we're trying to restore. I do know that lots of women listen, and please feel free to keep listening. It's very important because principles cut across different genders, and obviously what we teach here, what we share, is not something that would benefit men only, really, even though we say we are exclusively a masculine or a podcast that focuses on authentic masculinity. So we started talking last week about 7 stages of marriage. Now, whether you are married or not, as long as you are, even if you're single, you have plans of being married, you need to listen very, very carefully. And if you're married, depending on what stage you are in the marriage, listen carefully to what we have been sharing and, make adjustments accordingly. It's very important. We began last week by talking about how marriage is meant to be a profit-yielding business. We quoted Proverbs chapter 24, the Living Bible. It says that, every enterprise is built on wise planning. Okay? It becomes strong through common sense and profits wonderfully by keeping abreast of the facts. Okay? Now, you want to go back and listen to that episode so that you can understand where we were coming from or where we are coming from. All right? Now, marriage is something that God has made an investment in. And like every other astute businessman that makes investments, he will demand dividends. All right? So for that marriage, God requires dividends. The divorce rates that we have in the Western world that have also encroached into Africa and are covering much of the world, is alarming. We don't want to talk about that. We don't want to invest any energy in focusing on the negatives. But we just want to point out the knowledge that is hidden in plain sight is something that's open to us so we can learn and apply these things, know how to navigate and ensure we don't have any problems. So we said last week, the first stage of marriage is the passion stage. Okay? And while you are at the passion stage, what you should do is learn to rein in your emotions, because usually the play or outplay of emotions will be inversely proportional to the amount or the level of logic displayed. Okay? So what it means is that the more emotional you are, or the more emotional outbursts you release, the tendency for your logic, for you to be less logical in your reasoning or less rational. Okay? Then we then said also, that the next stage of marriage is the realization stage. And we said at the realization stage, you will need to manage expectations. All right? PI, we're talking about this, and there were 1 or 2 things that came up, and you were talking about the realization stage. We know that when, we don't manage expectations, disappointments will be a natural result. That's what will happen.
Yes,
okay?
Yes,
so if you go beyond the realization stage, what usually happens? What's the next stage you get into? Especially when people are adamant that they will stick to their guns and hold on to expectations even when they see that those things are unrealistic. what usually happens at the next phase?
Okay, so thank you, sir. Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to be with you in this studio. You know, so what happens at that realization stage, and then the disappointment starts setting in? What usually follows is the third stage, is the frustration stage, or the rebellion stage.
Yes.
Because, as you said, when people remain adamant, a lot of times what drives this stage is self-interest.
Yes.
It's about me, you know, and all that. And so a lot of times it leads to power struggles.
Yes.
He's not doing this for me.
Yes.
This is this and this is that. The person focuses on themselves and not on how to find a middle ground. Right? So that self-interest leads to power struggles. And then, it's in fact, many times this is where people want to exit the marriage.
Yeah.
Because there's that renewed quest for independence. After all, my life was better, you know, before I came in here. I didn't know he brought me here to frustrate me, you know. And then the fight starts, the quarrels, the arguments, you know, and all that. So if this stage is not properly managed, this is where many marriages crash.
You know, and actually, let me even say it this way. Somebody said, every marriage will experience a divorce.
Yes, sir.
Every marriage will experience a divorce. The question is whether you end up marrying the same person afterwards.
Wow.
That's what he said.
Wow. That's
When
powerful.
he said that, what he had in mind was this frustration stage. Because like you said, it's also got the rebellion stage, because self-interest at this point comes up. Okay, if this person is not meeting the expectations for which I married her in the first place,
Why am I here?
why am I here? I need to be able to make a plan B. That's why you hear people talking about plan B.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I need to make a plan B for myself. Self-interest now overrides the collective interest. And then people are making escape plans. You see, and usually there's also a divergence of hearts, emotions, and everything.
Yes, sir.
When you see people at this point, you know, what tends to happen is they begin to think in terms of, you know, an independent plan that excludes, an independent plan to the exclusion of the person that they are married with. Yeah, because, you know, what I married you for, you have become surplus to requirements, you know. So you're not giving me, you're not covering that aspect, you know, and everything, you know, and you know, it is inevitable that this will happen. As bad as it may sound, you know, as that stage usually is, and everything, it is an integral part of growth in the marriage process.
Yes,
Because until you get frustrated, you will not do what is required to save that marriage. Until you get frustrated, you will not, you know, completely, especially those people that are adamant sticking to their guns.
Yes, sir.
You know, you have to ask yourself at that point, you know, am I willing to make the necessary requirements to adjust and to save this marriage? Self-interest, this point now puts you in a collision course with the collective interest. So do I jettison myself and what my aspirations for this marriage were in order to push the collective? Or do I bury the collective to ensure that one way or the other I get what I'm looking for? You know, so the frustration stage also coincides with, you know, to a considerable extent, a death blow to self.
That's actually where self should die.
That's actually where it should go, you know.
Yes, sir.
Self-interest should go, you know.
Yes, sir.
And you know, it's something that, you know, it might look like it is, you know, you know, it's contrary to you know, it's against the normal progression. You know, it's as if you have to, at this point, you're going back in order to move forward.
Yes, sir.
You know, it's like you bury a seed in the ground. You know, before that seed, anything meaningful can come out of that seed. Before that seed can produce vegetation, trees that will produce a shade or give fruit that people will eat, produce a harvest, the seed will get worse before it gets better. Because if you plant the seed into the ground usually what happens is that if you go back in 2 days, 3 days to take a look at that seed, you will notice a progressive degeneration.
Yes, sir.
There's a progressive degeneration. There's decay,
Yes, sir.
termites, and different other things, elements at play there and everything. But that death process has to occur for the thing to produce what it is we're looking for.
Yes, sir.
You know, so that's how it is with the frustration stage.
And sir,
Yes.
if I may come in here,
Yes.
you know, while you were saying now, you know, something came to my head. There are seeds that you plant in the ground and they rot.
Yes.
And they don't end
They
up
will rot. Yes.
coming
Yes.
up.
Yes.
But there are seeds that you plant them, they die.
Yes.
Then a new life
Exactly.
comes out
Yes.
of it. So now I understand that this is the part where marriages enter another phase,
Yes.
if well navigated.
If well navigated.
And that's why we're having this discussion, because if you know that this is coming, then you prepare for it, you know, and then we armed with that knowledge, because like, you know, I've learned too that conflict in itself is not bad.
Yes.
Conflict is not
Yes.
bad. It's
Yes.
what people do with
Do with
conflict,
the conflict.
that is
Exactly.
the issue. Because
Exactly.
conflict lets us know our boundaries. Conflict lets me know, okay, these are this person's boundaries. These are my boundaries. This is how I react in this situation, you know, and all that. And, you know, as we're talking now, I was even thinking about my own marriage. You know, I remember one day, what was the issue? My wife's love language is quality time. It doesn't matter what I say or do.
Yeah.
The best part of her day are those times I sit with and we just talk. You know, we still have all night distance. Sometimes start talking from 10 to 5. But you are aware, sir, because at that the first 1, 2, 3 years, even 4 years was very turbulent. You know, because for me, I'd gotten so used to work. That's how my mind was wired before I got married. Then I come in. I remember the first time we were sitting in parlor, she said, let's go inside. I said, if you're feeling sleepy, go inside. I didn't know I was stepping on a landmine. You know, so the thing got so bad because she felt I wasn't listening.
Yeah.
At the same time, me too, I was thinking, stop disturbing me. When I finish, I'll come now. So something just came to my head. I remember one day she told me, why are you keeping me here? Take me back to my father's house. So I tease her with it now. You know,
She definitely is not going anywhere.
So it brings the point where self, because that is what is the target here.
Yeah.
The moment self dies, you know, you now begin to consider the other person. And then I want to make this person happy. I want this thing to work. I can overlook some of these things. I can manage these things. It's not a problem, you know.
This is where, like you noted, right? This is what you said, you know. Because at this point, you know, some marriages, you know, there's just a beautiful illustration you gave there. Some seeds fall into the ground and they die. And they die and nothing comes out of it. They die and they are rotten, nothing happens. Some other seeds fall into the ground and they die and they produce a harvest. Depending on the elements, depending on the level of moisture, the quality of the soil, the level of sunlight that penetrates, you know, whether you have pests and all different things, how you manage the pests and all that. And these are the same things that happen in a marriage. So frustration is inevitable, okay? What you do with it is what really counts, okay? That's a very important point. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to be taking a look at the next stage in marriage. When frustration is well managed, something happens. So, you know, the frustration stage will test your why. Will test your motive, you know, test your resolve. And the essence of it is cancellation of self. That's, you know, that's a major aspect of it. For as long as, you know, there's self-inducement in any marriage, you know, you're going to have challenges. There's no way challenges will not occur, you know. So you will get frustrated, and then frustration will then lead to something if it is managed properly. What is the next phase?
A big if.
Yes. Yeah. So
Thank
what
you,
then
sir.
happens? Yes.
Thank you, sir. So the next stage is now cooperation.
Yes.
You know, because when that frustration stage passes, and if it's like you said, it's a big if, sir, because the truth of the matter is that many marriages don't survive it.
Yeah.
But the ones that do, the next stage is now cooperation, where the couple they are able to now sit down and reevaluate their goals. They have shared goals, they have shared values. You know, there is more understanding now and all that, and then a commitment to also work on those shared goals. Part of what I also know that helps here is structure. You know, because I was giving an example with my marriage, for example, because I like to make these things real and very practical. What I started doing is I created a structure around it. Okay, so one day in the week, I block out that time, I sit with this. Since I know this is important to this person, I know it's important to her. I wanted her to know that I also know that this is important to this person. So I had to now start finding a way. Every day, what I told her is every day I come back, we have to find a way to talk. The last 1 or 2 hours of my day, I spend it with her, we talk. You know, and then we now do a lot of things together. They are shared goals, they are shared. It becomes a partnership now. And then the marriage now, you know, took on another dimension. So that cooperation stage is a beautiful life that comes out of the frustration, if that frustration stage is properly managed.
You know, the thing about the cooperation stage, we need to understand is that it is premised more on understanding than actually love. And I'll explain what that means. Because there's a stage after the cooperation stage where the real love now begins to manifest.
Yes, sir.
Just like my wife, for example. You know, when I married her, I actually thought I loved her. I thought I loved her. Beautiful girl, everything, you know. Tick many boxes for me. And then, you know, we dipped into the realization stage when she realized that there are certain things she bargained for that this guy did not have. And then, you know, there are certain things she had, you know, I felt she could have done better in, which now led us to the frustration stage and everything. But you see, what happens why I say the cooperation stage is more out of understanding is this. At the cooperation stage, like you noted now, we still come back to the table. Not necessarily a literal table, but you know, people come and they are thinking in terms of the values they have, the commitments they have, and so on and so forth. Usually at the cooperation stage, it is more like, almost like a transactional stage. It's more like a transactional stage, really, because sometimes at this point you realize that, you know, both people, you know, the couple, they have children.
Yes, sir.
And you know, sometimes you have a couple, they have children in the house, maybe they have a shared house. They bought the land, built the house together, or they share the mortgage. And maybe, like where I live, for example, I live in the West. And most houses are bought on mortgage, right? And then, you know, in America and in England, in the UK, the luxury that most people have in Africa, we don't have. People that live there don't have, because, you know, you can't hire, you know, it's going to be very expensive to hire a driver, hire a nanny, hire cleaners, domestic staff, and all that. So you're going to do lots of school runs yourself. You're going to take out the bin, you know, take out the garbage, go shopping, and so on and so forth. So, you know, in Africa, in Nigeria and other places in Africa, there are such instances where cooperation can be established. And I'm just giving an example for those people that live in the West as well, so that, you know, you can understand, you know, apply it in your own unique circumstances. So you can have a situation where, you know, the lady maybe thinks about the end of the frustration, you know, does she kick the man out of the house, or does she leave the house? But then if she does, who takes care of the children? Who does that school run? You know? You kick the man out of the house, or you go out of the house yourself. What happens with the mortgage on your house? You understand? You guys over time you don't have more responsibilities. While you are a single, you know, anywhere in the world, even here, while you are single, you didn't have as much furniture, you didn't have as much responsibilities too. You didn't have as much bills to pay. you didn't have as much commitments and all that. So over time, there's been maybe, whether spoken or unspoken, there's been some sort of agreement on shared responsibilities.
Yes, sir.
So sometimes you have people who they maintain a platonic level of relationship, but this time is based more on understanding. That's why I say it's a bit, sometimes, a lot of times it's very transactional. So, okay, we work together to ensure that we maintain we maintain the status quo. Maybe for the benefit of our children. Sometimes you have people that remain together for the benefit of their children, you know. So sometimes the embers, the flame, fire has dropped. And it's now premised on more understanding, more logic. You know, people now tend to think things through. Ordinarily, you know, they will not do that. But at this point now, they now think things through, you know, and think of the implication, not just of a divorce, for example. They think of the implication of divorce, not just on their emotions, but on their children too,
Yes, sir.
on their pockets,
Yes, sir.
on the various responsibilities they have. So people can be at the cooperation stage for different reasons. Different reasons, right? So I know some people who, a couple I'm thinking about now, who are at the cooperation stage because, you know, of the in-laws. Okay, so the husband maintained some sort of cooperation with the wife, largely because, you know, he deferred to his in-laws, had a lot of respect for his in-laws, you know, and so that period when the in-laws, his father-in-law was alive, you know, he maintained that relationship, maintained that marriage out of deference to him. But, you know, when the man died, fortunately, when the man died, he was able to, you know, within that period, develop some sort of understanding with his wife, which then led to the next phase. Because there would always be everyone, you know, following this order that will end up in that next phase.
Yes, sir.
That next phase is now where the real love comes up, like I was talking about with my wife. We also pass through the cooperation stage. We pass through that, you know. What might, you know, cause one couple to stay together in the cooperation stage might not be the same thing that will cause another couple to stay together in the cooperation stage, you know. So the basic thing is that at this phase or at this stage, you know, it's almost more like a transactional thing. You know, it's more like a transactional thing. Much emphasis is not placed on feelings, you know, because feelings and emotions would have been rocked anyway at the frustration stage. Those things would have been rocked heavily.
Sometimes even dead.
Yes, sometimes even
Practically dead.
Practically dead, you know. So what happens at the cooperation stage is there's a new level of maturity that begins to come in. There's a new level of maturity that begins to come in, you know, because it's no longer, you're not, you know, life has given you some bumps.
So at this stage, it's more of reason now, not emotion.
It's more of reason. Reason now begins to take some sort of precedence over emotions, you know. Yeah, because, you know, at that point, and you know, sometimes, even when we think about our relationship as believers,
Yes, sir.
our relationship with God, you remember those days when you first gave your life to Christ? Zeal. There's a lot of zeal that was burning, you know. And then you find that sometimes some people actually enter this frustration stage too. They get to the realization stage with God. They get to the realization stage with God. Because, you know, give your life to Christ, He will give you a husband tomorrow. That's what some people have been. Give your life to Christ, and then, you know, you know, a lot of unrealistic expectations. A lot of unrealistic expectations. Yes, caused by preachers too. So the guy gets there and he gets disappointed. And he's like, God, you know, you didn't give me that new car. But the girl says, the wig, the bone straights I asked you for, I did not get. You know, as though redemption is about bone straight. You know, so I hope I got it right.
Some people, it's bone straight. Some people start threatening God. If I don't get married by 31st,
I will share my Bible, you know, as though that would change anything, you know. So there's a point at which you get to at the corporation stage, you properly revise your expectations. Things are now revised. Logic now begins to play a more prominent role.
I love that, sir. Revised expectations.
Yes. And then logic now begins to play a more prominent role. But the good thing about it is that when you give enough attention to it, and do the proper thing, it will lead you to the next stage. But this stage will be far more, everything that comes after now will be, a lot of maturity will be involved in it, So I want you listening, please, I'd like us to, subscribe, get on the website. You're going to have those details in front of you right now. If there are questions you want to ask concerning what you're learning, we're going to pray at some point in the course of this series. We're going to be praying for you. If you have any issues, you have any questions you might want to ask, please reach out. If you have any specific prayer points you would like us to pray concerning, please reach out. And help, spread these messages. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, our Spotify channel. Subscribe and reach out to us if you want to ask more questions or join the movement. There's a prompt on your screen. Just click on it and you would see it will take you direct to the to the movement and what it is we're doing. We're trying to restore authentic masculinity the way God originally designed it to be. That's what this is all about. We have so many very interesting topics you'll find archived on our YouTube channel and on our Spotify channel. So I'd also ask and appeal to you to ensure that you click on them and spread these messages with everyone you know. So in this particular episode, or this series of episodes, this is the second episode in this series. We're talking about 7 stages of marriage, So last week we did 2, we covered 2, and I believe we've covered 2.
Yes, we did 2 in this one.
Yeah. So, if there's anything you see clarification concerning, because, there are courses that all these topics cover. So what we try to do is to give you just the basic level, and then you can, come join the movement if you want to get access to further resources and material that will help you, properly understand what we're talking about and also put those things to practice, So you want to talk to us about, the feedback system, the accountability system, and, the training systems that we're going to be running with respect to this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you once again for the usual insights you give to us. And thank you all for joining us on this awesome episode. Before we go, make sure you follow us on all our channels. You're going to see them on the screen. Follow us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, follow us on all our social media channels you see there. Follow us on Spotify if you want to listen to them on the go. Remember, if you have any questions, you can send it in. The email is on the screen. If you have help, please ask. Any information you need, we're going to get back to you. And as Hugo has said, we're building an academy. Okay, we're building an inner circle where we run these full courses. What we're giving you are more like sound bites. The real thing happens when you come into the inner circle and then you take the full courses. We're going to be giving you more information. Get to our website to see it on the screen, and get more information on this thing and help us share to all your channels, to everyone you know. Thank you for joining us today. It was awesome having you. Thank you so much,
Thank you very much
for sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank God. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom as well. We all benefit.
Thank you.
Very, very seriously from it. So see you next time. See you this time next week, same time next week. Looking forward to having you. Please invite all your friends and family members to join in on this. God bless you. Have a wonderful week ahead.
7 p.m. every Sunday. Don't miss it.
Right.